40 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Friday edition, TGIF of Sports Daily here on KFH. Glad to be with you. Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor here, taking you into the weekend. Hope it's going to be a fun weekend for you. Maybe not quite as rowdy as last weekend. Maybe a weekend to get rested up and ready to go. The summer is here. We are here to help you navigate it. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor, Max Power producing for us. The KFH hotline is open. It is the IHOP hotline, and it is brought to you by IHOP. IHOP's giving guests a whole new reason to smile about pancakes with a new Pancake of the Month offering, white chocolate raspberry pancakes. We're ready to roll here on this Friday. Tommy, good morning. Royals, they can't get it done yesterday. We've got the NBA Finals set, some major news in college athletics, just a regular old Friday here. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm good. It's good to be here. You mentioned hopefully a little bit of rest this weekend. I don't know if that's going to be the case. It's the opening weekend of River Festival, and so that all gets going tonight. I'm looking forward to being downtown for the parade. I am judging the parade tonight. I don't know. I mean, apparently I'm an authority when it comes to judging parade floats, and so that's why I'll be down there to do that this evening, but I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe they're just like, yeah, this guy's good at he's judgy. Let's get that guy.
That's probably what it is.
Judgy.
I'm very judgmental. I can look at I look at you every day and judge you with everything you say.
I know.
So it probably
sometimes you say it, sometimes you think it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's I live with it. I'm good.
It's going to be fun though.
That's exciting.
Opening night
bands
concert
this year.
Yeah.
I tell you, for guys our age, these bands. Are you ready for some Humpty Dance?
Heck yeah. The Digital Underground, CNC Music Factory tag team. Going back to the 90s with some throwback hip hop.
And there's another big time band, and I did the name Justice Starship.
Yep.
We were jamming to some Starship. We're like, oh, I wonder what they played. And it was just like nonstop hits. Not that was our generation. That might be a Max's generation. Max, you a Starship guy?
He's looking very excited about Starship.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any guys that are 90 years old. Grace Slick's not there. Paul Kantner's dead. All that's left is Mickey Thomas.
I think that you would be more.
You clearly are a Starship guy. You know the names of the band members.
I think you'd be more of a Foghat guy if I, had to peg you for somebody because they're opening for Starship. You're not a Foghat fan?
Slow Ride.
Yeah, Slow Ride. Who doesn't like Slow Ride? Come on.
Everybody likes
I
Slow
can't think
Ride.
of another Foghat song.
That's the only one,
Terrapin
isn't it, right?
Station.
Yeah.
I suppose you enter this generation, to Max's point, where are all the band members actually there? I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a know the names of band members guy. I know bands. I know the music. I think that I have a pretty good ear for it, but when it comes to the names of band members, unless they're absolute rock stars, I usually don't know them. And so Max is rattling off these names. And how many bands, Max, do you think you could just rattle off the band member names of? 100? All of them? Where do you find the brain storage for band member names?
I have all that useless information. But Mickey Thomas sang lead on, the Elvin Bishop song, Fooled Around and Fell in Love? That's where everybody really first found him. He sang
I want
lead
you to
on
think
that
about that question you just asked me again, Max. Do I know what album?
There's a song, Fooled Around and Fell in Love. It came out in 75 at Elvin Bishop, but Mickey Thomas sang lead. That's where he first.
Oh, that album.
Okay.
Oh, right.
The one
right.
Yeah, the one in 75, not the one in 74.
Yeah. I was
sure.
like, man, that was not on that 79 album, but now I got it.
He came in Marty Ballinsla.
Hey, I'm excited for the closing night concert, Kool in the Gang. That'll be fun.
It's all going to be fun.
Yeah.
It is a really festive, we'll call it. I don't know what the right descriptor of the lineup is this year, but it's a good one. And we have not been to Riverfest in a minute. It's been a long time since we've gone down to Riverfest. I would imagine that two of my children have never been to Riverfest. We used to go every year when we first moved here. So we are definitely going to make it a point at some point to get down there and check it out. We have all the reasons in the world to do it. Our house is getting worked on right now. So we could definitely use an escape route sometimes. So it opens today, Tommy, or
Correct.
tonight?
Well, tonight. Everything gets going tonight. The parade, the opening night concert, the Wind Surge they play, and then they're timing the ending of the Wind Surge game and the ending of the concert, I think, together. So then the fireworks can all happen at the same time.
Boom, 'cause Friday night
So this is really
fireworks.
cool.
Okay.
If you're down there and you are watching the fireworks, our sister station KUYN, they are simulcasting the music for the fireworks.
Nice.
So you can be
Okay.
in your car or, the Odyssey app or whatever, and listen to KUYN and hear the music timed along with the fireworks. And so that's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is unsolicited, by the way. Like, I really am looking forward to it. I think that the lineup is just right for an event like this. I've heard a lot of people having fun talking about the lineup. Like, oh man, I totally forgot about them, and whatever it is. And so we'll go at some point. I don't know what day we'll go, but not we won't go tonight probably, but we will go. And then after today, then we got like full rain, open all day for the week or whatever it is, normal, easy as you go. Have you ever been roped into any of the contests down there, Tommy, as a media member? I used to do a lot of them.
No, I
Egg
haven't.
tosses and ice cream eating.
Yeah, I haven't. Now, last year, I represented KFH and Sports Daily. I went
kinda
down
remember
there
this, yeah.
for the ice cream social, and I scooped ice cream. But I didn't
you
have
did
to.
not-
I didn't have to compete in anything. I know they do like an ice cream sandwich eating contest, and then there's the celebrity egg toss. I know Steve and Ted over on KNSS. They
Yep.
do that every year. They're doing that this
I've done
year.
the egg toss.
The ice cream social, Highland Dairy sponsors that, and then the Wichita Wagon Masters. They were with me scooping the ice cream. So, thank God I wasn't the only one. I didn't realize how popular of an event that was. And as soon as that happens, I mean, there's just a mad rush to where we were scooping the ice cream, to hand out the free bowls of vanilla ice cream from Highland Dairy, which is great. And it was a hot day last year on that Wednesday, and they're doing it again this Wednesday night. I won't be there to scoop this year. My son's birthday is that day, so we'll be busy with that. But
That's next Wednesday.
the 5th.
I was going to try to go too. I've got to go help the Miss Kansas pageant in Pratt that day, that night. So I'll be very tired. Would that be Thursday morning? Because I got to come back from Pratt before we start on the air here. I don't know what I got myself into with that, but it's
Are you
apparently pretty
emceeing
wild.
the Miss Kansas pageant?
Yeah,
deal?
that night I am.
Okay.
So Michael Schwenke's been doing that forever and doing like 12 nights of it. So he asked if I wanted to do this one night, and it's that Wednesday night. So I'll be heading.
You have to wear a
Pratt
tux.
To
you have to get all glitzy and
I don't have a tux. I hope
and all that.
I hope not. I hope
Okay.
not, because I don't have a tux. So if I'm supposed to be in a tux, I'm not gonna be.
I mean, if I think of any
don't
kind of
think so.
pageant that's on TV, I mean, the host is always very over the top, gregarious,
Tommy,
big white pearly teeth, rocking a
let's be
big
real
tuxedo.
There's a fine line of me taking too much attention away from the contestants. And so,
That's true.
I gotta bring it down a little bit. I don't want to get up there and steal the show.
That's
you know what
I
mean?
I
Like
appreciate that.
I gotta scale it back a little bit at a deal like that. So we'll do that. We got fun stuff all over the place this year. We'll be out and about saying hello.
We got the Wichita Open
appreciate
in a couple
everybody.
of weeks. We'll be doing
God,
our
I
show
cannot
out
wait
there
for that.
live. The opening
Cannot
2
wait.
days of Wichita Open. It's it's kind of interesting because we get out of the point where you've got football season and basketball, college basketball, and all of that. And so from a sports perspective, it's a little bit slower. But we get into summertime, and then we're active and we're out and we're doing different things that we maybe wouldn't be able to do during football season. So it makes it kind of fun.
It won't feel slow this year, I don't think, because of the Royals. So that that normal time where we catch our breath will go away to some degree. I wanted to look real quick, pulled out the old Storm Team 12 app to get an idea of, because we're to the point now where we can look ahead to open weather. I don't know what all I know is normally it's a sweat fest and it is blazing hot. I'm looking at next Thursday. Oh, but we're still 2 weeks away, aren't we? So it's too early. But if the trends continue, I don't know that all of a sudden we're going to hit 100 degrees in a week and a half. So maybe we'll get good weather for the Open this year. I think I'm a week ahead when I'm looking at that. But that will be fun. The other thing that will make it slow is college football now has become a little more all year long event. Just like yesterday, we get the schedule drops for the first 3 games. We'll talk about that, by the way, KU and K-State. We know now game times, networks for both KU and K-State. We'll get into that. I do think that a normally slow time of the year is not going to feel very slow. I think we've got the Royals to keep us entertained. I think this NBA Finals, Tommy, and we'll get into this later in the show too. I think this NBA Finals is going to be one to watch. I do. I think you've got, it wasn't a disappointing outcome last night. I mean, I like the Mavericks, but it was a disappointing game in the sense that it wasn't very close. I kind of see this Mavs-Celtics series getting some distance on it. It has a little star power. I think the finals will be fun this year. And we'll have the Royals, obviously, who, a lot of circumstances with that loss yesterday. I don't really take too much out of it, but you just don't want to see the trend of the last week continue here into next week when you get the Guardians. We will get into all of these things today on the show, by the way. You get the Royals and the Padres later tonight. You'll hear that on KFH. By the way, you can watch us, watch our video stream, which is available to you on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. So do that if you haven't had a chance to. And share that out. Share that link out. It's really easy. You just go to KFH. We are growing that every single day. We will have different ways to take it in. We're going to introduce a text line at some point. You can comment to us on any of those 3 social media platforms. Facebook, is YouTube social media? Whatever it is. And X. You can comment there. We can actually take those comments, not just onto the air. We'll read them, but you can see them. We can place them right on the screen if you're watching us. You can also listen to us on the go through kfhradio.com. You've got a live stream there. Show gets podcasted out that you can go back and listen to. All kinds of ways to take us in. We appreciate it however it is that you do it. Let's take our first break, and then we'll come back and we'll get into Royals a little bit. The NCAA also has big news with transfer rulings. That's, I think, one of the more interesting stories of the day. And we'll get you through what was announced on the schedules for KU K-State football. A lot to do here on a Friday edition of Sports Daily. Glad you're here with us. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Albracht and Castor, and we're coming right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Couldn't even finish off the inning. The rest of the bullpen was good, but it was too little too late. So they fall 6-7, 7-6 in that game. So we go into a series now against the Padres, and that's sort of the primer here before a day off, and then the Guardians. The Guardians also lost yesterday, so no damage done there, but Minnesota is very much back in the mix here now after taking 3 of 4 from the Royals. They are 6 games back of the Guardians. Kansas City's 3 games back, so Minnesota 3 games back of Kansas City. And no room for error there. Minnesota's hot. Minnesota's been winning a bunch of games, and we will see if they have the staying power, and I think that they will, to make this a 3-team race. And Detroit's not going away either in this, by the way. They're at 500 right now. Certainly could be a threat there down the home stretch too. But you get the series going now against a Padres team that's underwhelmed a little bit this year, but still has plenty of talent on it. That's what comes up this weekend. And just a quick look at that pitching matchup here as we take it. And you'll get 3 games for Kansas City at home, and you'll get them as Waka, Marsh, Reagans. And Waka has been much better lately. Marsh had his maybe worst start of the year, but he battled for him. And then Reagans, Reagans has sort of been when he's on, he's got as electric as stuff as we see in baseball right now. But he's gettable, and they'll go up against a couple of pitchers in that series who have really struggled. That one tonight, 7:10. Then this weekend you get 3:10 and 1:10 first pitches. I think most importantly yesterday, you see Pasquantino back in the lineup, and you see that, he's healthy. He had a home run. He didn't come up with a big hit late. Jason asks on our YouTube feed, he's starting to be concerned with the bullpen. Traffic on the bases, can't make closing a game easy. Yeah, look, I agree, Jason. The bullpen has been better, certainly, than it started the year. And my concern level that I had, through the very beginning portions of the season, it's less now than it was then, but it's still a concern. I mean, it's for sure still a concern, and it's for sure something they'll need to address one way or the other. They can do that maybe internally. Maybe they can do that through the deadline, but I don't think this is the finished product of what the bullpen will be. But yeah, I mean, they do play with fire too much. And Stratton was the guy yesterday. He just had a really, really bad game. The rest of the pen was okay. I don't know about the bullpen. I still am on the fence with the bullpen and what they need to do. I don't think it's at, I think the top priority is another bat in the outfield. Although MJ Melendez is maybe going to heat up a little bit here. We'll see. But I think the bullpen, I have a hard time with it. I don't know if they need to go pay to get a big time bullpen arm. I don't know if they need to keep tinkering, see if there are internal candidates. Big time bullpen arms are expensive at the deadline. It's how the Royals have Cole Reagans right now, because the Rangers parted ways with him to get Aroldis Chapman. So I don't know. I mean, the Royals, I think, they have a need for a back end piece, for a no doubt about it guy, but so does every team in baseball. Thus, the price gets driven up on those arms. So I don't have a real good feel yet for how they'll attack that. I think the bat that they need is much more easily acquired than the bullpen piece that they probably need. And so we'll see how they attack that. It's going to be interesting, but I agree. I agree that the bullpen scares me a little bit. Rick points out also on the YouTube feed that Melendez has had a lot of chances. He's not good. I'm not saying MJ Melendez is good. Don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is they are giving him a long leash. And we talked about this last week. I think it's intentional. I think he means a lot to this team in the clubhouse and other things. He had a home run yesterday, right? So maybe he's been much better at home than he has been on the road. I think, Tommy, he has a place on this team. Does he have a place in the everyday starting lineup? I'd say I doubt it, but I do think he has a place on the roster. Anything they get from him feels like a bonus, because I think we've all sort of written him off at this point.
Yeah, I think that with Melendez, he definitely, I mean, from a need perspective right now, clearly he's got to be in the starting lineup, I think. I mean, I know that, Blanco has sort of come along to an extent, and, maybe there is an opportunity sooner rather than later to bring Drew Waters back up. The one thing that I think that MJ Melendez can do that, may make him, valuable is, I think he's got the opportunity to play a couple different positions, right? And so a little bit of versatility, I think you probably should need that on the roster. Doesn't mean that he needs to be in the starting lineup every day, but you've got a little bit of versatility to be able to use him in, various different situations where it makes sense. So I do agree with you that having him on the roster in some capacity, I think, is probably at least semi-valuable for Kansas City moving forward. But right now, I don't think you have another piece that you feel totally comfortable with replacing him in the lineup every day.
I mean, if they had a better option, I'd be comfortable with that. But I also know there's a reason he's getting a long leash. I think that he means something to this team. That matters. It matters over the course of 162 games. I sometimes battle with analytics bros and the stat nerds and everybody. I do think that intangible stuff over the course of 162 means a lot in Major League Baseball. I think locker room, I think feel of that stuff. Tommy, there's not a grind like it in sports. You play every dang day for 6 months, basically. You've got to be in a happy place when you come to work for that to be successful. The best example I can think of are the Royals of 10 years ago. That group was so tight, and they had guys in that lineup that were driving people absolutely up the wall. Ned Yost drove people ballistic sometimes. But sometimes you just don't mess with happy, right? And so if Melendez is a big part of why that group is really having fun and doing the thing, then I don't disagree with making sure he's a part of it. Now, does he need to be in the lineup every day? No, I don't think so. How much do they need to change it? I think he's one of the players that will miss out. I also think, though, if we're talking about, ceiling and potential and everything, he's not just some throwaway. Like he's been decent at times at the big league level. I also think there's room for improvement. I think there's a part of this where it could be that he's just been off to a terrible start.
And I know they don't use him as a catcher anymore. He's primarily an outfielder, but he came up as a catcher. They've got, of course, Salvi, but then they've also got Freddie Fermin, and they use those two guys. But in a pinch, I'm sure that MJ could play catcher if they needed him to, with an injury type situation or whatever that looks like. So again, that versatility, I think there is still value with that. And yeah, he's not anywhere close to, I think, his ceiling. And I also don't think that
his ceiling may have passed. I mean, he's an old enough player now that I think we can just bring that ceiling on down.
And I think, and that's okay. I mean, like there are a number of players in Major League Baseball that are not going to be, stars for you or everyday players in the starting lineup, but you're okay with having them as a spot type player, a pinch hitter, defensive replacement in the late innings, whatever that looks like, a guy that can step in and play a couple different positions when your starter needs a day off. There's value in that. The issue right now with the Royals, as we talked about multiple times, is just their lack of production in the outfield offensively. Who are you going to replace Melendez with? And is it Blanco long-term? We've seen flashes, but I don't know if he's quite ready for that everyday role. And then, could you call up Drew Waters? Sure, you could. He's had a cup of coffee in the majors before too. I'm not sure he's ready for a day-to-day type role. So I think it goes back to what we've been saying for quite a while. That need clearly is a more consistent offensive bat. Yeah, and they thought they had that in Hunter Renfroe. They probably thought they had that in Adam Frazier. And that really hasn't been the case necessarily. And now Frazier has to play more in the infield. So there are all of these situations that are playing themselves out where by necessity, you still kind of have to have Melendez as an everyday player.
They need him, right? And they're going to need him again, even if he doesn't play. Like, just watch the group, and he's one of those guys. I think, and I think that I do think that matters. That's one of those intangible things that you can't really define or explain. That's important to teams that do special things in seasons. They need to add to it. Back to Jason's point on his concern about the bullpen, I don't know where I would still prioritize the need for a bat right now, which is crazy because I cannot stand bad bullpens. It's my least favorite thing in baseball. I don't think the Royals have a bad bullpen. I think they have an average probably bullpen. And I haven't looked at, how their numbers stack up with the rest of baseball or anything in the moment here. But I think it's an average bullpen. I think it's probably good enough if it had to be, with as good as their starting pitching has been. But I certainly think it could be better. I don't know where they attack the better. I think the biggest need for the pen is in the back end, Tommy. I think that's your need. Like right now, as we look at these things, and we try to do this here a lot, as we project these into a playoff game, sometimes bullpens can't get you to the back end, right? And then sometimes the bullpen at the back end scares you a little bit. I think it's more of the latter there with this bullpen for me. I think they've got enough arms to get them to the end of games, but do they have that dude? They do not have that dude. That dude is usually really expensive at the trade deadline. I would be on the horn right this second trying to get Pablo Lopez over here. I don't know if you saw everything that happened with him with the Mets. And
he's been a Royal before.
And then a lost in translation moment. But It's a dude with some experience in those spots. I'd be on the horn with him right now. And trying to find all these more affordable ways to try to correct this, because I don't know that they're going to be in the market to go get whoever it is that the top reliever is on the market this trade deadline. I think they're far more likely to get an impactful bat than an impactful bullpen arm at the deadline, because typically they're not as expensive at the deadline.
Well, there's a lot more. There's a lot more offensive players that are probably available at the trade deadline than a high impact bullpen piece. And you think back to over the last several years at the trade deadline, there are relievers that absolutely are traded at the trade deadline. Usually they're fairly high profile. I mean, Aroldis Chapman was one last year, but I mean, think of like Josh Hader.
And he helped
for
the
example.
Rangers win a World Series. It was rocky, but he helped the Rangers win a World Series. If you want to talk about impact.
Yeah. Josh Hader was moved, a couple of years ago. That didn't go well, after he was traded, but he at the time was a high impact high leverage reliever. And the price tag was pretty high, if I recall, with that trade at the time when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
So, those things cost you a lot. And they probably, because the supply is smaller than the supply of hitters and, even outfield bats, I think that the supply is going to be larger when you get closer to the trade deadline. And looking at their bullpen, I mean, I think that while the bullpen, yes, there are absolutely concerns there, and for good reason. Chris Stratton, by the way, after last night, his ERA is an even 6, which is bad. So there are clearly issues, and Will Smith is not the guy that they thought he was going to be, or not the guy they wanted him to be when they brought him in. The expectations, I don't think. Nick Anderson hasn't been a high impact reliever. I think MacArthur has shown flashes that he can be a guy in high leverage situations, but I don't know if consistently he's ready to be that guy at this point. And so really, I think Angel Zerpa has probably been the best overall.
Carlos
reliever.
Hernandez
has been, that helps a lot. But I think Zerpa overall,
he got sent down
that you can give Zerpa the ball, maybe not in high leverage situations all the time.
They just don't have a high leverage guy.
But you can give Zerpa the ball. Typically, he's going to keep the score where it is.
I think this bullpen as it currently stands is good enough to get them to the playoffs where they want to be. I do. I don't know that this bullpen, and it's hard because we saw last year a team win a World Series, and really two teams get there, didn't have best bullpens in baseball, right? Far from it. And so you can mix them up, but they've also got like Bruce Bochy pushing the buttons, who's been the best at that there ever has been, I think. I don't know that the Royals are in that position, but the Royals have probably deeper and better starting pitching than even your World Series winner a year ago, than either of the teams, quite frankly, in the World Series a year ago.
I mean, do you think that it's worth? Do you think it's worth a swing, at least temporarily, until the Royals are able to figure out if they want to go after a bullpen piece, to give Angel Zerpa a try in high leverage situations? I mean, he's pitched in 24 games so far this year. He's got an ERA of 1.64 and a WHIP slightly over 1. He's been pretty solid in 24 games, 22 innings pitched. I don't know if we've necessarily seen him in any high leverage situations, or if we have, it's kind of been few and far between.
Let me look at what good bullpen. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at the really elite, bullpen arms, guys that are, and that's too high of a WHIP. So WHIP for more casual baseball fans, it's basically walks and hits per inning pitch. So how much traffic are you allowing? 1 is really good. 1 and under for a bullpen arm is kind of where your top end guys are. For starters, it can get up a little higher than that. For example, right now, your starters, Seth Lugo, for an example, has a WHIP of right at 1. Skubal and Suarez, those are kind of been the 3 guys this year. All those guys are 1 or under, basically. Your bullpen arms, I think when we're talking about high leverage, you would want to really low it. So I don't know if Zerpa's doing that, but I also don't know if they're getting anybody that is.
But you also have to understand that the context around a WHIP for a starter is different than the whip of a reliever, because the sample
It is.
size
I
is
would
going to be
want my
greater
I'd
with
want
the
my I'd
starter.
want my
you
whip
know?
lower though. I get what you're saying. Like I just when we're talking about the issue that faces the Royals, it's that they need somebody that comes in and just can get you out in bad situations, who doesn't put much doubt in the air, who makes the other team feel like it's an 8-inning game instead of a 9-inning game. I don't know that they're going to be able to find that. I think long term, the second Asa Lacy comes back from Tommy John, you turn him into it. You say you're coming back as a reliever. I think you can do those things organizationally. I'm not sure any of that is doable.
I sure
right
hope
now
he
over
pans
the
out.
next 5 months.
I
do
sure hope
too.
he
I hope
comes
they all
back
pan
from
out.
Tommy John. And the Royals, they took one of the top picks of the draft to bring in Asa Lacy, and a lot of it's unfortunate. Tommy John, all of that. Um,
And
if he
pitched him
doesn't
forever.
if he doesn't pan out, and if he isn't able to make it to the majors, I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, the guy's a draft bust, and a lot of it's out of his
Sure.
control. But you look back
Yeah.
on those really bad years of the Royals, where not only were they playing bad at the major league level, they were drafting bad, they were developing bad. It was just everything was bad. There was nothing that you could look to. And again, and not to start this conversation all over again, but that's what makes this year so remarkable in the turnaround, is just because of the years and years and years of mistakes and incompetence and bad decisions.
Yeah, it's look, Major League Baseball draft is just ridiculously difficult to hit on, especially when it comes to pitching. Pitchers rarely pan out. I mean, it's not just the Royals, it's not just Asa Lacy. The pitchers just don't generally pan out. Early draft stock on pitchers. It is what it is. Jason follows it up with, what is cheaper, the bullpen piece of the bat? The bat, Jason. I think the bat is much easier to acquire than a high leverage reliever at the deadline, because I think when you're talking about the bat, especially an outfield bat, all you have to do is go to the bad teams and just say, like, who's your old guy that you have no use for here, and you just take them and you just bring them on. I mean, it's not that simple, but there are far more of them than, hey, we need a closer, by the way. Like, we need a really good reliever, because guess what? So does every other contending team in baseball. You can never have too many relievers. You can definitely never have too many high impact relievers. And so I hope that the Royals, to Ken's point, can do this internally as much as anything else. And he's also on Hernandez. We've seen Hernandez be pretty good. Is he an end of game guy? I don't know. Again, I'm not sure that's in the resume, but the more the merrier. Just keep taking swings at it. They've done a nice job of sort of piecing it together. And again, I do think that they have enough to do that the entire rest of the season. I think they will have enough in different ways with the way their starters are going, that they'll be able to patchwork this thing and stay competitive in the division. It really is just about, and then if they get there, do they have enough at that point? And that's where you could really see them needing a big high impact reliever. But I would say I think they need a bat more, and I also think it's easier to get.
I think that's the major difference between the two, and you kind of touched on it, is that it doesn't matter if you have a good bullpen or if you have a bad bullpen. Contenders are going to want another reliever, right? Like, they want their bullpen to go from good to great, or they want their bullpen to go from bad to good. Whereas with the bat, really, like a lot of the teams that are contenders, their lineup is pretty solid for the most part, and they may have needs offensively, but it's usually for a lot of these contenders. Okay, if you could think of one thing to make that team get over the hump to win a World Series, more than likely they have a pretty solid lineup. And even if they have a good bullpen, they could use another reliever. And so I think that's what will drive, and that's usually what drives the price up for high leverage, really high impact bullpen pieces at the trade deadline.
Right. It cost the Rangers Cole Reagans to get a couple months of Aroldis Chapman last year. Now, at the time, Aroldis Chapman was lights out. And when they traded for him, he was lights out for a little bit. And then he sort of spiraled out, but barely got them through a postseason. But just remember that if you're wanting a high impact, high, ceiling back end guy, which is what happened last year with Chapman. It cost the Rangers Cole Reagans. Do you really want to trade something like that right now for that guy? I don't think most Royals fans would say yes.
The Rangers won the World Series. That's the
Rangers,
end all be
yep,
all. They made that
sure
trade.
did.
They moved away from Cole Reagans. They got a ring out of that.
The Rangers had never won a World Series before that. The Royals have. And I think the Rangers are in a much better position to absorb that kind of loss financially than the Royals are. The Royals can't afford right now, with the way we've seen them spend or not spend money this offseason, notwithstanding, long-term assets. It goes back to it's been brought up before. Would you be willing to give up Vinny Pasquantino in a trade to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? I think if you were, we could say the Rangers. If you were a big market team, the answer to that would probably be heck yeah. But a small market team, that control matters. That you gotta think about that kind of stuff when you make those moves. So, do you really want to trade a big time long term asset for a rental reliever? I think organizationally, the answer would probably be no, and I think they won't shoot that high. The bat is not going to cost you that much. The bat's not going to cost you what that kind of reliever would cost you. You can go get a big-time vet, you can go get a veteran bat that makes you better in the outfield for probably next to nothing. And there will probably be teams that would love to just dump the salary and say, just take them. That happens all the time at the trade deadline. It's like, give us a list of low-end prospects. We'll take one. You take the money. We're all good. We don't want to pay this guy because we're not any good. We don't want to pay the salary. That happens all the time in Major League Baseball.
Well, hey, shoot. A good example of that, it's not a ton of money, but we've mentioned his name before, Tommy Pham from the White Sox.
Yes.
They're paying him $3.5 million this year. He's
That's
a veteran
good
outfielder.
Salary dump for them.
And a team that is not winning baseball games. Or take a look at, the contracts that the Mets have. The Mets are a dumpster fire.
Oh, man.
And
they'll eat those contracts.
Absolutely.
Too, they'll want prospects.
They will. But they'll also say, look, just take them. We'll pay. We'll pay to get them off of, our team. So there are going to be opportunities there.
Tommy Pham is the name that we've talked about him. He seems like he would be a perfect fit for what the Royals need. He's been around for a long time. He's been a part of teams that have been really good. His numbers are there. It's certainly an upgrade. He's 36 years old. Tommy Pham, if I had to make a prediction right now, he's hitting 294. Doesn't have some of the power probably that some of even the struggling Royals outfielders have, but he's handy and he would come, I bet you, at next to nothing other than money. He'd come at, it'd cost you money, but he's active on the bases. He doesn't have much pop anymore. He doesn't. He strikes out quite a bit, but I don't know. The guys like him are out there everywhere. They just are. And so I think that's where the Royals will attack. I don't know what to do about the bullpen. I don't. I don't know that there is a lot you can do about the bullpen. We'll get into this. We'll preview this Padres series. We're past a break here. We'll give Max a chance to get a break. We want to say thank you to Prairie Fire Coffee for always fueling us up at KFH and all our Odyssey family of network staff. Always enjoying that great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. Much more to go here on the program today. We'll get you through this NCAA change with the transfer portal. That's a big one. We'll spend some time there with that. Other things going on this weekend. Chiefs headed to the White House today, apparently to do that whole Super Bowl celebration thing. It's all here for you at Sports Daily. It's a Friday. Albracht and Castor. We're coming right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Royals baseball on KFH available for free on the Odyssey app. Royals hosting the Padres this weekend. Tune into KFH at game time. You can simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH. This portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. I know they've got the old member guest is a big one going on, right? This big tournament, right? I've never been invited to play in this for some reason.
You don't
I'm
have to
not
be
sure
invited.
why.
You're a member. You just sign up to play.
I know
in
that.
it.
I'm talking historically, I mean.
Oh, like before
nobody
you
ever-
were a member? Okay.
Or anytime. Nobody wants to play with me for some reason in this tournament. I don't know. Do handicaps come into play in
Yes.
a tournament like that?
They do.
Oh, I should be on everybody's team. Everybody should want to play with me.
I would
But
agree
get
with
your
that.
handicap. I get your handicap way down.
I've played in the member guest. It's been a while. It's been 3 or 4 years. It's fun. It's like the biggest member event, I think, of the year. They, obviously are inviting new people out to the club to check it out. Big tournament. They use both courses because Crestview has 36 holes, so they'll use both of them. They do dinner, a couple different nights, a bunch of cool events and prizes and things like that. So it's definitely their premier member event of the year. It's going on this weekend.
One of these days, I'll do this event. I just need a guest. So if you're a really good golfer, I can be your really bad golfer to drive down that handicap for you. But give Crestview a call. Tell them we sent you. Check out all their membership packages today. Royals going to the White House. NCAA transfer rules. Lots of big stuff coming for you in the second hour here as we make our way through. Plus KU, K-State football schedules. We get some details there. It's all coming in the second hour. Stick with us. Sports Daily coming right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Glad to be here with you on this Friday edition. It is TGIF. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor will be right back with us in a minute. Max Power in for Jad today again this week. Appreciate the time we've been able to spend with Max this week, a few times this week. We talked a little Royals baseball there in the first segment. We talked a little Starship with Max there in the first segment, getting ready for Riverfest. But you can go back and listen to any of that as always. Just right there available for you at kfhradio.com. You can go back and listen to different segments of the show. So a big story, and I really want to get into this a little bit, Tommy. Listen, this NCAA transfer rule is a big dang deal. So what happened yesterday was the NCAA agreed to drop a rule, basically the transfer rule, right? In the beginning, it was you never get to transfer without penalty. Then it sort of transformed to, well, you get to do it once without having to sit out, but then you have to sit out. And now basically, like all of these things, it gets to court and it's like, why are they allowed to do this? Like why can't a kid leave? Like they're not getting paid, like all these things. So the NCAA is like, all right, fine, we won't do that anymore. And that's not good for the programs, but it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. I think this is one of those things where it's the very obviously right thing to do legally, because when you think about that circumstantially and relate it to the rest of the world, it's outrageous. It will make things a little more chaotic than they already are, probably. But I don't think it'll make them any different. It will be the same as it is now. You just have, players not fearing the having to sit out by doing this again. But they already could sort of, I think, Tommy, see this coming anyway. I think we could all see this coming. Basically, you're just not going to have a transfer rule. And it is what it is, but it will mean more roster turnover, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the point now where, a lot of these things, I feel like everything is changing kind of every day. It seems
Yeah.
like once a week we get some kind of new guidance or new direction. And I know if I'm getting weary of it, then absolutely the universities are, and the athletic directors that are having to keep up with all of it, and the compliance departments and the coaches and even the players, to keep track of, okay, what is actually being permitted, what is not. And you know what? Here's what's interesting is that even outside of college athletics, there's a big shakeup right now in the labor world in general about non-competes. That's all big right now anyway. And you and I work in industries where non-competes have been standard and the norm for
Yep.
a long time. That's just something that when you work in this industry, more than likely you're going to have to sign a non-compete. I have
Which-
one. You probably have one.
By the way, I guess the FTC is stepping in and looking at making that illegal too.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that there's a big upheaval with that right now, and that actually passed the FTC to ban non-competes. Now, there's going to be litigation, there's going to be appeals,
Yeah.
there's going to be things like that where it's going to be long and drawn out. But businesses they're saying, well, we need to protect our interest as well. So it's not dissimilar to what's going on in college athletics in general.
Let's go rabbit hole on that, because that's fascinating. When that ruling came down as it relates to what we do and everybody else that's not an athlete, most people that are in our industry that I was hearing from, they're like, all right, that's awesome. Big win for, the workers. And I'm like, yeah, kind of big win for the workers. In certain industries, it's a great win for the workers. In other industries, it's probably not. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. And this does, and bear with me for a second, because I do think this is relatable to some degree. You got to put yourself in the mind of a small business, let's say, of a really like, let's say you're in the tech industry. Okay. You're a brilliant tech mind. You want to start your own company, and you've created and come up with some technology that makes, let's call it whatever it is, delivering goods, figuring out a way to do something in the tech world that is revolutionary. And you're trying to build a company based on that idea and doing your thing. You've got a small group of people helping you build this thing. You're brilliant. All of a sudden now, if you don't have some sort of non-competes to be able to build in there, Amazon comes calling and says, well, hey, second in command there, your other person that works for you. Well, I mean, we'll pay you $500 million to come work for us. Why? Because they want that technology. They want that idea. So they just bring that person over, right? If you don't have protections against that, it only helps the biggest company. Everyone thinks it's going to protect you from the biggest companies. But in my head, when I hear that, I'm like, this is going to kill the small companies, because these big companies are just going to come poach all the best people working from everywhere else with no repercussion now. And, to those workers, I guess you go wherever you're highest paid. That becomes an interesting debate. And so I think it's a little bit of a gray area, and why this will be a fascinating legal process to see where that lands. But then you go back to college and it's sort of the same thing, right? Unlimited transfers hurt smaller schools. They don't hurt KU basketball. They don't hurt Alabama football, right? Because they're just going to rotate in. It just gives them a bigger player pool to go find players every year. What it hurts is Wichita State, for example. Let's use Colby Rogers as an example and pretend like he didn't run into eligibility issues. Let's say Wichita State goes and they bring in a player from a smaller school on that first transfer. Here's your big opportunity. We're going to invest in you, do all these things. That same player, come in, boom, be really good, and they're out. Wichita State then is more likely to become the rotating door. It's not the biggest schools. It's the trickle down when you do things like this on these transfer rules. So, I think it's relatable. I think it's too naive to just look at this one way. And I would tell you that I'm fully supportive of this rule changing, because for the players, again, it's nonsensical to tell a college athlete they can't go find their best situation. Nobody else on campus lives by those rules. And if they do, they're very highly compensated for it. The athletes are not. So I don't have like, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to think about anything. What I'm saying is there is nuance here that is really difficult and complicated to comprehend. And generally speaking, with these non-competes going away, that only benefits the biggest companies, programs, whatever. They see the most benefit out of that. It's not the small guy, the small business, the small school. They're the ones that are going to get left behind with that sort of rule change.
And if you even want to take it in deeper and go down to an even smaller level, and you talk about the individual, I've had, and I'm sure you have had as well, some form or version of a non-compete basically your entire career and what you've done.
For 20 years.
Right.
Now, yeah.
And it becomes just something that is part of it. Like, I know if I'm going to sign a contract with the company that I'm working for, in my case, my career has been in radio. I know the radio company that I work for, or the station that I work for, there's going to be some kind of non-compete. And it's become, it's not an issue. It's just something that I know that I'm going to have have to be in the contract. But here's the difference. I've never had any issue signing a non-compete if I know that I'm going to be compensated when the time comes for me to part ways with that company. You know what I mean? Like, if it's something where they decide that I'm not going to be with them anymore, right? And so It's like, yeah, you can enforce, if you don't want me with your organization anymore, okay, and you're going to enforce the non-compete so I can't go work for a competitor, then you need to pay me while I'm sitting out. And so if that's a period of time of 6 months or a year or whatever that looks like, at least I know then that if the company that I'm employed by makes the decision to move on from me, it's different if I leave on my own. Then at that point, they're protecting their interest, and I get that. Enforce the non-compete so I don't just jump ship and go to a competitor. I understand that. But if they make the decision that they don't want me around anymore, okay, well then don't also prevent me from going and finding employment in the industry that I have skills in. So pay me during that time. In college athletics, that's not realistic. That's not the reality. That's not the way that it is. It's not like, because I'm sure, yeah, I bet a lot of the time the player themselves, they're deciding to go and change programs and organizations. But I guarantee you there are other times where the program itself is saying, hey, we're going to move in a different direction. We've got somebody that we are really excited about that's a touted recruit coming in. Your playing time is going to go away. We need the scholarship spot. We need the roster spot. We're going to have to move on from you. Well, at that point, yeah, if you're going to make that player sit out, they need to be compensated. And that's not the way that it ever has been in college athletics.
And I don't know how you even do that, by the way. Like, so again, non-competes have been a part of my professional life forever, and they get stupid in our industry. At least they do on the TV side. Like, there are some non-competes that say if you're not working for us, you can't work anywhere else in the market for 3 years, right? Like, if you're done with us, you can't work anywhere for 3 years in this industry. I'm like, what? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And it's just industry state. You're just be like, okay, oh, fine, I'll sign anything, right? When you're coming up and you just need a job, you're like, what the hell else am I going to do? Like, yes, I'll sign that. It's fine. So there are dumb things in these rules that probably need to change anyway. But again, the other side of it is, if you're a company investing a lot of money and resources into somebody, you don't want your competitor to get that person without having to make that same investment. I understand why they're there. They've been abused, right? They've, like everything else, can't have nice things. They've been abused by companies at the same time. So in athletics, in college, how do you find... And I don't know the answer to this, but I don't have an answer for it. It's just like a philosophical question. Like, how do you find the balance on this? Because it's not good for the smaller schools. They invest a lot of resources in a lot of these athletes for those athletes to then turn around and leave scot-free. Now, you're not paying them, right? Your service, your scholarship is fair enough compensation, I think, for somebody to walk away. But that doesn't make it good. It just makes it right. So how do we find a balance on agreements of how long a commitment do you need to make before you're allowed to transfer? Because you could say maybe, okay, fine, 2 years, but then what happens in the situation you described if after 1 year, after,
Right.
like look at KU this year, right? They bring in Nick Timberlake's a bad example because he was only going to be a 1-year guy anyway. I don't know, one of the freshmen. You come in and they struggle, and now KU decides, well, we're not doing that again, and they go bring in like 8 transfers like they've done, and you're one of these young guys, and you're like, well, I got to get out of here, right? And maybe you've made commitments through NIL. I don't have a good idea of the end game. All I know is, legally speaking, not letting these kids transfer just is never going to hold water. It doesn't make any sense. We don't hold anybody else on campus to those sorts of standards, right? We just don't. Maybe there's buyouts for players now. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that the courts are universally ruling against the NCAA every single time. I don't think that's going to change. And that's why we're seeing holistic changes. Maybe revenue shares are tied to it. Maybe players are less likely to leave if they're at a place where the revenue share is higher. I don't know. I just know the players have gotten the raw into this for so long. When you take advantage of it for so long, when you swing that far on one side of the pendulum, guess what? It swings that much harder the other direction. And so we're seeing that massive swing now. It's not like there were just little things to deal with. It was so egregious in every way that now all this other stuff, it's the blowback, and we're just going to have to sit with it until it settles. And we're ways away from that. We're a few years. We got to let TV contracts expire. There's all kinds of stuff in play here.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I mentioned at the very top of the segment, that it seems like every day or every week there's a new change. And there's a court case, or there's a ruling, or there's, an appeal, or whatever is going on in a variety of different ways, whether we're talking about straight up compensation for athletes, NIL guidelines and guardrails, or TV deals, revenue share, conference realignment. There are all of these seismic shifts in college athletics. And it's really, really easy, I think, to get overwhelmed by all of it, to react very strongly to all of it. But what I know is that because there's been such a fast and furious change that's happened over the last several months, or even the last couple of years in college athletics, the dust hasn't settled yet. And I still think we're a ways away from where everything is going to fall into place. And so, I'm trying my best to not get too high with the highs or too low with the lows, not react one way or the other, be like, oh, this is amazing, this is exactly what should happen, because more than likely it's going to change. Or on the flip side, being like, this is ruining college athletics, because we don't know exactly where it's all going to actually end. So my caution for anybody that's a college football fan or college basketball fan, or, any college athletic fan, is to just sort of sit back and wait for it to all fall into place, because there's nothing that we can do right now, as opposed to just like waiting and seeing how everything will be finalized.
The transfer rule, more often than not, has driven us crazy that players are ineligible when we feel like they should be eligible. This change, I don't think, from a fan's perspective, will be that seismic from what's been happening the last couple of years anyway. There are some of these things happening that are egregious. The fact that players were not allowed to earn on their name, image, and likeness until a few years ago, that's egregious. It is absolutely ridiculous that they aren't allowed to do that, weren't allowed to do that. I don't think this is one of those things to that degree, because I do think there's a little bit more nuance, but I don't think it'll change our experience that much, because it's pretty much been happening anyway. I mean, you could see this coming, right? Players are like, screw it. Like, you're not going to be able to stop this anyway. The interesting part, before we move on to the next thing about this, I think, Tommy, is the NCAA's force now. If players had to sit out because of this rule, they get that year of eligibility back. Now, Now, I don't know what that means. Does that mean players are allowed to like come back to college after a long time away? I don't have a good understanding of that yet. Or does it just mean players that are currently dealing with this? Guy like Colby Rogers had to sit out a year. Does he just get an extra year of eligibility because of this? Or I don't know what another good example of guys that have had to sit out and wait. Like, did they get to come back now? Do they get that eligibility back? Or once you go so that's probably the most short-term interesting thing out of this, but it's out there. We'll ask Kevin Saul about it next week for a little perspective on exactly how it changes or doesn't change, because Wichita State's been in the middle of a couple of these transfer situations now the last few years, honestly. So I'm curious to get his take on it. What's your take on it? The IHOP hotline is open, 869-1240. It is brought to you by IHOP. IHOP giving guests a whole new reason to smile about pancakes with a new Pancake of the Month offering, which is white chocolate raspberry pancakes. We're going to come back. We'll get you to the scheduling notes and new news details for KUK State. Some parallels, I think, between their two early season schedules. And we will also get to a little Chiefs. They're going to the White House today. Tommy, I wonder, we'll take our best swing at. You think there's going to be beer chugging at the White House? That's kind of the Chiefs thing. We'll ponder that for a second. We'll take our best guess at that. Yeah, and we'll give you that answer on the other side. You can leave us your comments on our video streams. We've got a lot of comments there on the YouTube portion right now, that video stream. You can check those out or also watch us on Facebook or X. We're coming right back in Sports Daily on a Friday.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily here on KFH. Tommy, I asked you this question before the break. You think the Chiefs are going to be chugging any beers at the White House today? That's kind of their thing.
Yeah, I thought about it during the break. I think the answer is no. I think it would depend
Why?
upon who the president is, and I don't think they want to do anything to startle the current president. You want to be
He's pretty old.
you want to be very calm, and so I would imagine that they'll need to temper things down a little bit.
Joe,
It's gonna
you
be
gotta
okay.
fight for your right to party. We're gonna take these beers. A beer is something young people drink to have fun. We're gonna take it and we're gonna drink it really fast. Don't be alarmed. This is what we do.
They'll need to say that even slower than what you did and louder.
Joe,
Hey,
this is Joe. This is what we're gonna do. Sorry, this is not a political show. all the candidates are really old. This is
They
a
are.
joke. This joke
Yeah,
goes
this is everybody.
across all bounds.
Only one's a
so
convicted felon, though. By the way, not that is either here nor there,
we
but
got old people. Hey, our governor's really old.
Yeah.
Look, we're going across the. We're firing these political shots. They're all old. Okay,
Everybody's
That's not
old.
A take on any one particular. No, I think you could chug a little beer at the White House. Why not? If you can eat fast food at the White House, you can chug beer at the White House. I want to see it. If Travis Kelce wants to take his ultimate shot, you get up there at the White House, you get on the mic, you give him your line, you give him your stick, and then you chug a beer. Jason Kelce would do it.
I would love to see Travis Kelce cheers with Joe Biden and have Kelce chug a beer and have Biden chug Ensure. Like they're slamming
What if he just chugged a beer? I don't know if Joe Biden's a
or
beer
Metamucil
I have
or
no
something
idea.
like that. You know.
Well, here's what I hope he goes like stone cold. I hope Jason's somewhere in the crowd somehow and like launches up, a Coors Light up into the White House galley and Trav catches it. Now, I would guess you'd have to let the Secret Service in on that, by the way. Like, hey, we're going to throw a beer at the stage. Please don't, arrest me or take me down. I'm going to lob this up there. My brother, that's what I hope happens.
Here's another idea.
It's your thing. If you're going to chug beer, you've never had a better stage to chug a beer.
Another idea that could work out really well and actually maybe be a pretty wholesome moment is it's very well documented. Our current president's love of ice cream. And, he's always eating an ice cream cone every time you see him, it seems like. I would like to see him share a banana split with Andy Reid. I think that would be a pretty wholesome moment, the two of them enjoying some ice cream together.
Yeah, we'll see. It's probably not going to happen. But, man, if you're Kelce, if all eyes are always on you, if chugging that beer's kind of become your thing, you've never had a better and bigger opportunity stage to do that than right now. You got to make it happen.
Promise he does that. He ends up on some list somewhere.
Yeah,
don't you think?
We're probably all on a list.
Sure, we're all on a list for one reason or another.
We probably just got put on a list for making fun of how old our politicians are. Like, all right, that's it. Those two smart asses in Wichita, they're on the list. We're gonna sell their email, and they're gonna get a bunch of spam emails now, and we're gonna let the robocallers have at it. Like,
I'm already getting that, So
yeah,
we're
on the.
I've given up that that expectation of that privacy a long time ago.
Chug the beer. Chug it at the White House. Let's make it happen, Trav. Let's get that done. That's happening today. We got these college football schedules out, Tommy. Look, so this is an interesting year. There were a couple of things that stood out to me, and forgive me if I didn't know a lot of this and it's already been out there. I knew days were already determined, right, with the schedules. We've known days. KU has a Thursday game. They both have a Friday game. They play. What we didn't know is times, and we didn't know networks. Actually, we'll say 2 out of 6 because we got 3 games for each of them. Only 2 of them are ESPN Plus. That's good. That's a promising sign, I think, for the programs that they're being put on the biggest stages possible early in the year. That sort of speaks probably to the expectations. They each have Really interesting. They each have sort of a cupcake. K-State gets UT Martin, KU gets Lindenwood. So you have that, and then you get the good road non-cons. K-State gets Tulane, KU gets Illinois. Both of those, by the way, on national TV. That's a good thing. And then you get another good game, right? KU gets UNLV, which is not a throwaway. I don't know a lot about UNLV next year. Then K-State gets Arizona in a Big 12 non-Big 12 game, right? In a weird day. Remember, they had that scheduled, and then Arizona joins the league, and so now I think like you play them, but they don't count to the Big 12 standings. But of course, in a CFP situation, it absolutely counts. So you get all these things, but you get to Friday night games, which is when they both play on a Friday night. But it's the part where they're on the networks almost all the way through that I think is the takeaway for me on the schedule, at least, that I'm the most excited about. People are pumped up and fired up for KU and K-State football this year, Tommy. The networks are, fans are, college football fans are. You're going to have two of the best quarterbacks in the country going. Like it's all eyes. I'm telling you, this will be as high profile a year for college football in the state of Kansas as we've probably ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to wrap my head around the fact that, the traditional basically always playing on Saturdays is
Yeah.
changing, and I'm on record saying I don't like the Friday night piece of it, because you're encroaching on high school football and that sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
feel bad. Like, for instance, with the K-State game, that one was announced a couple of weeks ago that they're playing at home. I think it's September 13th against Arizona on a Friday night on Fox. That's great exposure on Fox, on the mothership. That's great. I feel bad for area high schools in the Manhattan area that are going to have home games, and the fans and all of that have to coordinate with the fact that there's also going to be a home Kansas State football game that night. So I don't love that. But as far as exposure is concerned, yeah, the fact that you're getting that stage and the fact that these major networks are excited for both KU and K State, yeah, it's a great thing. There are some things that are different now that I've got to wrap my head around.
The Friday night football thing, I don't think I like it. I don't for a couple of reasons. That's not a good TV audience anyway. So I don't understand the desire and maybe that's why there's a little urgency and desire there to try and elevate one of the lower viewing days of the week. I don't like that it combats high school football for a couple reasons. Not just because, if you want to support the local high school and you're a K-State fan, you have a conflict. It's not just that, because I think you can, in a lot of senses, watch the game on your phone, at the same time if you need to. It's more about the high school athletes and their opportunity to be scouted by colleges. That's what bugs me about it, right? There's less of an opportunity for coaches to come see you play if they're then playing it. And maybe the number of games stays small enough that that's not an overwhelming concern. But if we're going to start playing college football games on Friday nights, that is going to impact the chances of high school athletes getting to where they need to go. So that's the only problem I really have there. I like the Thursday night game. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I don't mind, quite frankly, and I think this is where we're headed with college football because they'll maximize it. I think that they can probably figure out a way to play good football games throughout the week and just figure out through bye weeks how to make that happen without. The other thing is, too, if you're going to revenue share and if you're going to do all these things to enhance the athlete financially, the athlete has less of a gripe when they're asked to play on a Tuesday night. I think, that there is the schooling piece of that and that difficulty, but, athletes and professors and everything, they've all been dealing with that for long enough that I think they can make that happen. I think there's enough scheduling quirk that you could spread games out. You could definitely play a Monday night game. You fight Monday Night Football, but you could definitely play a Tuesday night game, Wednesday night game, Thursday night game for sure. And then Saturday, I think if you could get a high profile game from like a power conference game each of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or even just Tuesday, Wednesday if you don't want to fight Thursday night football. But honestly, I think you would be willing to take up that fight. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they'll have one on Fridays, whether we like it or not. I think that's not a bad idea. If the networks want to go that way, there is not a more valuable property in the world right now than live sports. They're just not. People watch and they don't fast forward.
It's difficult.
It is what it is.
It's difficult as a fan, and it's not impossible, but it does make it more difficult to coordinate either watching a game or going to it in person. I'm thinking of that more specifically because I know like
but we do it with the other sports, don't we? I mean, we do it with college basketball.
To an extent, but with the Big 12, I mean, you pretty much know non-conference is different. You pretty much know once you get into Big 12 play that you're going to have a game on a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, and then you're going to have a game on a Saturday, depending on the time. But those are the days that for basketball that like there's going to be an early to midweek game. Sometimes you're playing in Big Monday, sometimes it's a Tuesday night game, sometimes it's Wednesday. But then during conference play in the Big 12 at least, there are not Thursday night games or Friday night games. And then they play on Saturday, and there are not Sunday games in the Big 12. So non-conference is different, but that's the way the Big 12 has been for a long time. Football, like my wife and her family, like they're KU football fans. They have season tickets and things like that for the longest time. You just kind of knew for the most part that it was going to be on Saturdays. And of course, KU was bad enough for a long time. More than likely, it was going to be 11 a.m. on a Saturday, the majority of games. There might be an outlier of a Thursday night game early on in the non-conference or, what have you. But more often than not, it was a Saturday game. And so when you start to, and it made it easier, they're coming from Wichita. So it made it easier to coordinate schedules, knowing that it was going to be on a Saturday, as opposed to, always like having to try to figure out the day of the week. So you do have to kind of figure that part out. The coordination is a little bit more difficult, but that's the only thing I can think of.
And you don't want to lose Saturday either, but the NFL's coming for you on Saturday. I mean, they are, right? Don't you think? Like the NFL's coming for you on Saturday. So you better wrap your head around that right now. If I'm given the option of a Saturday night NFL game or a Saturday night Big Ten game, I mean, I'm going to the NFL, and most people are. So if they're coming for you there, which I think the NFL is to some degree, you better be ready to come back and counter. And I think the answer to that is having games on weeknights. Now, again, I don't want to blow up the tradition of a college football Saturday at all. Last thing I want to do. But I do think if leagues are trying to become as valuable as they can in this changing landscape, having a Tuesday night window makes a lot of sense. Having a Thursday night window makes a lot of sense. As much as I don't like it, having a Friday night window makes a lot of sense. Occasionally, don't want to see teams have to do this stuff more than once a year. And again, the scheduling people are really, 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 really smart. Conferences are growing. You have less room for non-conference games anyway. So just figure out a way through your scheduling to give every team a weeknight game. Maybe it's every team has to play 2 weeknight games. And you build them around bye weeks. How many bye? I mean, most of the time, right? Like KU and K-State, most of the time are taking 2 bye weeks in a year, right? So you just build your weeknight games around those 2 bye weeks. You play 2 weeknight games in a season. That comes in, in conjunction with your bye weeks, and we move on. If everybody contributed from each of these super leagues to 2 weeknight games, if everybody made that commitment, you could have high impact college football games 4 nights out of the week. You could have them on Tuesday, Wednesday. You could have them 5. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't think you'd want to do Mondays. I think it'd be a waste of time. I mean, maybe you do, but I think it'd be a waste of time. So you go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for college football games. Not a ton. One from each, one from the collection of power leagues. You're just trying to appease the networks here, right? You're not trying to we're not reinventing the wheel. You need 1 or 2. FS1 gets a game, ESPN gets a game. Boom, done. Just 2 of them among the 4 power leagues. I think you could do it. And I do think people would watch. I'd watch. I think I'd watch. I'd certainly watch if it was Big 12. I don't know if I'd watch if it was ACC on a Tuesday night. But if it's a good Big 12 game, I'm probably in. And that's got to be the ticket, is they've got a revenue share and do all these other things. If you're going to have to share the revenue, you got to generate more revenue. It's logic.
Yeah, I mean, of course, revenue is going to be the major driver on all of this. And, so if the networks and the conferences are going to find, like, they're going to find what the best TV window is for them with the most viewers where they can, be able to get the most money, right? And so and I get it because, look, Fox has a handful of games nationally on a Friday night. You made the point a couple of minutes ago that Friday night traditionally is not a major television viewing evening for live TV or live sports, even, in that regard. That's why you don't really see a lot of live sports on Friday nights, nationally. You'll have baseball. That's more of a regional thing, but there's not a national Friday night baseball broadcast. I take that back. Apple TV does one on Friday nights, but I can't imagine that it's, major viewership. There's not NFL on Friday nights for that reason. Fox is doing that on Friday night, but I guarantee that if the major networks for college athletics and these conferences and, the NCAA felt like there was an opportunity to make substantial money in the middle of the week, and maybe take a page out of Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football or that sort of thing. Yep. They're going to do it. They're going to explore that, and I think that for the longest time, remember like the midweek college football, it was the MAC. Like everybody knew you're going to watch the MAC, on a Tuesday night on ESPN. But I think that will be expanded.
Nobody's watching MAC football.
Right.
What if it was, instead of MACtion on a Tuesday night, if it was an SEC game on a Tuesday night? Now I might watch. I'm not watching MAC football. I'm just not. Like, it's a trendy thing to say you're doing on Twitter, but nobody's actually
the only
doing
people
that.
Who are watching MAC on Tuesday nights
bettors.
Are the people that, bettors, but the people that they don't care who's playing. They just want football on. It doesn't matter.
And I get that.
They're diehard football fans.
Don't you think that section of audience is shrinking? I do, because I used to be that section of audience. Like, I used to say, I don't care what it is. I want to watch sports. I don't know that my brain operates that way now. I need you to bring me to the table here. I need a little something. If I'm going to commit that time now, I'm going to need a little something. And MAC football ain't doing it for me. Sorry, it's just not. I need it to be a big-time game. Or at least a power conference game, at least a game that might have a playoff implication that I might watch. And I think that's where we're headed. The NFL's doing it. The networks don't have more valuable properties to put on the air right now than live sports. They don't. They want it. The schools want it because they want the more revenue. I think we want it, whether we know we want it or not. I think we do have an appetite for it, and I think it's coming. And if you don't, like for college football, the NFL is going to do it anyway. You might as well beat them to the punch. And so, long story short, we've got a Thursday night KU game in the first three. We've got 2 Friday night games for KU and K-State. They both play on the same Friday night coming in the second week of the season. So just that's what's out there. But the flip side of it, it ensures them on national television. You might play those games on a Saturday and you might get sent to ESPN Plus. Just saying. Like you still want to be over the air if you're a program because you want the most eyeballs you can get. All right. What do you think? IHOP hotline's open 869-1240. Appreciate you being with us. It's Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor. It is Sports Daily. We'll come back. We'll preview this Padres series. You heard in Ted's update, Padres don't really come to Kansas City. The least frequent visitor to Kauffman, only 6 times ever? I didn't know that until I heard that in Ted's update. That's wild. But we'll look ahead to that series a little bit and get you primed for the weekend when we return on Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily. We are glad to have you with us. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor, getting you ready for a weekend. That weekend will feature Royals baseball, and it will feature Royals baseball against the San Diego Padres, a team they do not play very often, certainly not at Kauffman Stadium, a team that is not doing the things that it hoped it would be doing for a couple of years now, not for lack of effort. San Diego's been very active, but they're game over 500, Tommy. Very much in the mix. They're an interesting team. Their run differentials in the positive column. It looks like a team that's going to be in the wild card mix. It's a good National League team, and the Royals get them at home. So what are our expectations? I would say the easy answer and the simple answer is 2 of 3. You want to take 2 of 3. You get into that day off. You don't want to lose 2 of 3 or 3 of 3. That would be the fear here, because the Royals are, it's not a skid, but it's kind of a skid for them, especially right now. They went 3 of 4 on the road trip, coming out of that win streak. So look, I think you just try to win the series pretty simply against a team that's pretty good.
Yeah, you've got to get yourself back in a position to where, again, that midweek series next week against the Guardians, you feel like you're in good position entering that series. I mean, that's the bottom line for the Royals. They're 3 games back of the Guardians going into this weekend. You got to keep pace. I've been saying that all week long. You got to keep pace with them before that series starts on Tuesday. And so knowing that, I think at the very least, because of the way that the Guardians are winning games right now, I think that if you're the Royals, you've got to take 2 of 3 from the Padres, right? I think that's got to be what you're looking at, what the expectations should be coming off of this road trip, going 3 and 4 on this road trip. This last week, you're back at home, just a quick 3-game set before you go back on the road again. Take 2 or 3 from the Padres. At that point, I think you pretty much, unless the Guardians sweep their weekend series, which they could, unless you do that,
the Nationals, that's the bad news.
Unless you do that, you can keep pace with them and be in a good position entering that series on Tuesday.
Yeah, they're playing the Nationals adds a little bit of urgency. It is too early to take these game by game on must wins, have to haves. The Minnesota series was more urgent, I think because you just don't want Minnesota back in this thing. Minnesota, like, you can make a case, Tommy, right now, and I wouldn't call you crazy, that Minnesota is going to be the last team standing in the AL Central. I mean, I don't think that's outrageous to say at all, passing ultimately and eventually both Kansas City and Cleveland. Now, I think the best chance is that all three of them are there at the end of the year, because I think all three of them have staying power, but you didn't want to let them back in. You let them back in. Okay, on to the next thing. You still haven't chased down Cleveland. You just can't give up so much ground. And more than, it's not even giving up so much. Like, you just need to be able to more quickly stop the bleeding on a bad stretch.
You're 3 games back. You're 3 games back of Cleveland right now.
Bad stretches to last longer than a series. If you can keep that from happening in baseball, like if you're not going into a week at a time or 10 days at a time, if you can just keep it to a bad series, it goes a long way in the long run.
You're 3 games back of the Guardians right now. And let's say that it's a bad weekend for the Royals and the Guardians stay hot. You enter the series against Cleveland on Tuesday back 5 games or back 6 games, with the potential that in a head-to-head, you could then end up 8 games back, 7, 8 games back. Like, things can spiral out of control pretty quickly. And so you've got to manage that, because I think the worst thing that could happen for the Royals coming out of this weekend series against the Padres is where they feel desperate on the road against Cleveland. They cannot feel desperate going into that series next week. So that's why I think this 3-game set against the Padres at home, they've got talent. They always underachieve, it seems like. They're 1 game over 500, but they still have pop. You got to take at least 2 out of 3 and hope the Guardians don't sweep, so you can keep pace with them entering the Cleveland series on Tuesday.
And you're saying that knowing, like, Lugo doesn't go in the series, but that means you get him against Cleveland.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying. You have to be able to stop the bleeding. Now, the other thing is, like, from a psyche perspective, wouldn't you like to go into the Cleveland series not thinking we can't let this spiral out of control, but instead thinking, hey, we could run them down in this series. We can overtake them in this series.
Absolutely.
That it's a totally
It can either spiral
psyche
out of control for them, or it could end up being maybe the turning point in a positive way for the season for the Royals.
Yeah. You get first pitch tonight is ready to roll at home. 7:00. We'll get coverage here of Royals Padres. We'll tell you when else you can hear them, what else is coming this weekend when we wrap up a Friday edition of Sports Daily next.
Linex of Wichita is now Truckworks ICT. New name, new spray and bed liner, same great service. We'll be having a grand reopening sale in May with discounts on most products and services. Truckworks ICT, 167 South Washington Street, 316-858-3790.
Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop is Wichita's favorite furniture and mattress store for 3 generations and counting. Offering the largest in-stock selection of quality name brand mattresses and bunk beds, and so much more at the best prices in town, guaranteed. Living room, dining room, bedroom groups, and accessories with delivery set up and special financing available. Open 7 days a week, east at 1026 South Oliver, west at 604 North Tyler. Go see them today.
Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop. Crazy, the sanest deal in town.
Who makes your first impression all it can be? Pave the way.
Did you know that routine maintenance extends the life of your pavement, saving you thousands of dollars and eliminating liability concerns? Trust the professionals at Pave the Way, specializing in paving, patching, crack sealing, seal coating, and pavement marking. Call 316-990-5855 today for a fast free estimate. You'll be glad you did.
Pave the way. Kicking asphalt every day.
Hey, Renee, what sandwich did you bring me today?
Well, first, I want you to tell me what you think.
I can taste garlic butter and Parmesan.
Okay, what else?
That's melted Swiss cheese on grilled sourdough.
That's right. It's our new garlic Parmesan chicken melt. I brought you the grilled. I'm having the crispy.
The cheese melts right into the chicken.
That's why we call them chicken melts.
Garlic Parmesan chicken melts. That's why you say
Freshness made to order. Spangles, it just tastes better.
the weather is warming up and Spangles has a new thirst-quenching margarita, the Jolly Rancher Watermelon Margarita. This bold, fruity flavor will be your new go-to cocktail. It's Spangle's signature margarita mixed with the most popular flavor of Jolly Rancher, watermelon. The new Spangle's Jolly Rancher Watermelon Margarita, where cocktails just taste better. Spangle's reminds you to please drink responsibly.
Freshness made to order. Spangles, it just tastes better.
Create an energy-efficient home with Sky Chief Roofing and Solar. Pro-certified contractors will improve your home's efficiency with roofing, windows, spray foam siding, and painting. We'll even help you go off the grid. With solar, you will reduce your energy cost and lock in the price of your energy. Learn from our local consultants and produce your own power. Energy-efficient tax credits, 0% financing, and $1,000 off your solar installation. Visit skychiefroofingandsolar.com or call 285-5435.
Keep it twisted all year long with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Twisted Tea is real iced tea that packs a punch with 5% alcohol. Tastes great at the beach, the mountains, or even in your backyard. Look for the bright yellow Twisted Tea cans. Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Keep it twisted all year long with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Twisted Tea is real iced tea that packs a punch with 5% alcohol. Tastes great at the beach, the mountains, or even in your backyard. Look for the bright yellow Twisted Tea cans. Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
Hey, we still have college baseball going on. One more team in the state still alive, and that's Kansas State. The Wildcats are in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 11 years. K-State is playing in the regional in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the Wildcats play tonight. Number 3 seed Kansas State versus number 2 seed Louisiana Tech. The Wildcats with 32 wins on the season. Louisiana Tech with 45 wins on the season. K-State is in the NCAA tournament for the 5th time in school history, playing tonight for the Wildcats. We have pro basketball here in town tomorrow night for the undefeated Wichita Wizards hosting the Central Kansas Twisters. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening at Friends University. You get reduced admission with your Riverfest button. And women's soccer, FC Wichita women with back-to-back home games at Stryker Stadium, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Tomorrow, the KC Courage. Sunday, Side FC 92 for the FC Wichita women. I'm Ted the Sports Head.
You can take KFH Radio with you anywhere you go. Listen now on the Odyssey app.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, that's it for us. That was a fun show today. It's a good week. It's a busy week. You know, usually this time of year, we're kind of scratching and clawing. We didn't have to do that this week. Again, Royals tonight at 7 o'clock. Infinity Sports Network programming up to that point. Bob and Jeff locally 2 to 4. You got the Royals Saturday, 3 o'clock. Sunday, 1 o'clock. Tommy, enjoy the weekend here.
Thanks.
Might get a little rain, but it'll be all right.
Looking forward to Riverfest and hope to see people out there tonight for the parade.
Yeah, go see Tommy, go see the gang. Parade starts tonight. Get out to Riverfest. I'm glad it's back. Hopefully we get some good weather for it. We'll get out there and check it out. Appreciate Max for stepping in a few times this week for us here on Sports Daily. We'll be right back at it on Monday. See you then.
In Odyssey's sports station, this is 97.5 and 1240 KFH, KNSS HD2 Clearwater.